Shambho, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Shiva, Shiva Shiva. The principle of life. As we have in detail explained about the Tattvam. This is not a matter which can be understood. This is not a matter which can be seen. This is not something which is within the parameters of the Panchabhutas. So it cannot be recognized, it can only be organized. So Bhagavan said, it is inscrutable. So all other usage with this word of life, they are all only to give a sense of feeling that which is beyond the limits and beyond that which is recognizable, that which can be understood. So whenever we address life means that which is beyond, that which is not recognizable. It is not in the purview of the normal human mind to perceive and identify and act or react to that. Beyond all things, superior to all that I have told you, up to this time is life, says great Tapasvi Maharshi Sanat Kumara. As spokes are fixed to the nave of the wheel, so is everything fixed to the principle of life. It appears to be something else functioning, but they are all fixed to this. Any movement done by the fulcrum in the middle, where the spokes are fixed, it appears that external wheel or the spokes rotating, but it is not that. It is the life that is there, that's the fulcrum that is there in the middle. That's the one which is functioning, which is not visible for the external eyes. So the purpose of external experience, people identify spokes as life, outer ring as life, or the movement as life, the karma as life. So even the life is addressed as based on one's karmas to that extent. So they are all absolutely meaningless is what Upanishad teaches us. Maharishi Sanat Kumara tells us, Vaishambhayana, Maharishi Vaishambhayana, Maharishi Yajnavalkya confirms that through the experience and through the tapasya of theirs, these cognitions could be achieved and could be transmitted for the benefit of others. Whatever there is in this world, anything worthwhile, meaningful, that is all prana. Minus life, everything is meaningless. There's nothing without life. Even what we think that which doesn't have a life also has got prana there. That's why it is all surviving. Here, Maharshi gives us an example also. Here, specifically, he says that we address someone as, he is my father, she is my mother, she is my sister, he is my brother, etc. We do not know. We are not referring to the body as father, mother, sister, brother. There's something else in them, that is the father, the mother, the brother, sister. and so on. We ourselves do not know what we are when we speak about ourselves. Our importance vanishes when the life principle is withdrawn. We are valuable only so long as we are living. If we have no life, what are we? We are nothing. What we regard ourselves is worldly parlance. The body is not our real personality. When you address somebody, he says that specifically, that life is superior to everything. Minus life, everything is valueless. Says that you address someone as so and so, so and so. We have designated the principles of Prana into them. It's a very big subject again, the Shastras, but it takes a lot of time to explain. But in short, we'll see and pass on. How do we call somebody as a father, someone as a mother? And why we do not call others like that? You ever thought of it? It's a father from whom we think we have come. Yes, it's a source. When everything is a prana, now you tell me, when everything is a prana, who do we address as father? Who do we address as mother? There is the individual concern there. There are no individuals, but what happens is that the unit, that which is containing the prana, that particular prana, in each and everything, as we said, there are 1,000 shapes and forms of utensils. You fill water in every one of them. Each one takes its own shape and form. The water also takes its own shapes and form of the utensil. So the water, qualification of water has been, when it is in the glass, we call it as a glass of water. The water has been qualified as only a glass of water. Then we said a jug of water. Then we said a big utensil of water, a drum of water. Then we said a tank of water. Then we said a lake of water. Then we said a river of water. Then we said an ocean of water. Even though it is water in everything, we have identified the water for the purpose of our convenience and manifestations, the water as only as a glass of water. But this water, even though it is in the glass, no doubt about it, it doesn't mean it doesn't have the capacity to expand itself to the whole universe and become a very big ocean. Since it is in a container, we call that water in the name of that container. Prana. It's like that. Glass has not created the water. The water has come from an external source. When it is poured in the water, in the glass, it has taken its shape that way. But it is a reason. It's a convenience for us. We don't take a drum of water and try to drink. It's not possible. We do not have strength to lift that as far as drum of water is concerned. The same way, each and everything has a source for the purpose of convenience. So the unit which has created this prana, my prana we call it, okay, let me call it as my prana, that which is making the Panchabhutas and Panchapranas, my mind, my thought, my emotions working, is that energy or that prana which is the one which is making this particular sharira's fulfillments or requirements met with. It is because of that prana, my Panchabhutas, when I say my Panchabhutas, this materialistic sharira, what I am talking about, this Prithvi Tattva, this Jala Tattva, this Agni Tattva and Vayu Tattva and the Akasha Tattva is functioning like this is because of that prana actually. Even though it is that prana which is making this the shape and form, but I call for the convenience that is my prana. It is not my prana. Is it? It is making this unit function. Does it mean that it is its? Can you call the tube light's power, the refrigerator's power, air conditioner's power? No, no. They are all different. Each unit is different. They are all, the input is power. With the power, with the electricity only they are all functioning. But that electricity is not identified as a tube light or a refrigerator or an air conditioner. Understand what I am saying? They are identified as the external form. They are identified as the external form is one, but that external form is identified because of the power two. The power alone cannot function as tube light and air conditioner and this, that and all that. It needs a unit where certain activities have to be activated. That's called the air conditioner, refrigeration and tube light. They all activate itself differently because of their mechanism, their manifestation. I won't call it as mechanism. Their own manifestation in this world, yes, because of their karma. To make that manifestation manifested, to make that manifestation function in this universe, this prana has been put in. Or he sought the help of the prana to make himself function as it is the right sentence to be used at last. It has been born as a tree, as a flower, as a plant, as a fruit, as an animal, as a human being. All these units, all these Panchabhutas, all these units have been born, have been manifested themselves, have been manifested by themselves in order to experience their karma. For the purpose of experience, experimental or experienced experience, these units sought the help of prana, which is abundantly available in the atmosphere or in the cosmos or in the universe. Yes, it is available. It sought the help of it, so the prana helped that particular unit to function as it is supposed to function. Yes. The flower blooms because of the prana inside them. Otherwise it will remain as a bud. To create a bud from the plant, from this particular plant, how the bud has come? Had to in a particular position, particular time, and the bud in a particular shape and form. Yes. And it grows up to a certain point. And when it comes to that growth, it doesn't grow like a tree. The bud grows only to that extent, that which is supposed to. Who has measured it and who has told the bud should grow only up to that? When it reaches its time of that end of that bud progressing, the next transcendence of the bud is the flower. When the flower has become like that, the next transcendence is a fruit. From the next transcendence, it has become to the next transcendence, to the seed. And from the seed, again, a plant or a tree. A recycle. And this cycle has been also made possible by the prana in it. Is that prana called that flowers prana, trees prana, plants prana, or the fruits prana? It should be called like that. The same way in a human being, in others. You get it? Is how the father, mother, sister, brother, how you call them. The one which made the flower bloom, the flower called it as flowers prana. Yes. Same way, there has a possession and an ownership has been created by that, even though he doesn't own that. I called my father as father only because of that. Am I right? But there is a reverence to that. Why? Because you should understand these things very clearly. Don't just go blind and then take a conclusion of it. It's a very big chapter and very intricate subject. Up to this you understood that each prana, for each, even though the prana in the plant is one which allows the plant to grow, is not that which makes the flower bloom. For blooming the flower, it's a different type of activity that is required. It's not the same activity of growing of the plant or a tree. It has got a different activity. It has to have colors, it has to have fragrance, it has to have so many other parameters in that. They're all created by prana only. Right? It's not a small thing. So, since compared, that's why I said certain people have called the prana based on the activities. We called it as my prana, your prana, or flowers prana, or a fruits prana. Because that is the prana which helped the intention of that particular unit to manifest itself according to its own design, based on its previous past experiences and experiments, to make itself possible to complete that experimental experience. Yes. So he said, it is its prana, that is a dog's prana, that is a god's prana, or this is a human's prana, or this is a father's prana, This is mother's prana. In prana there is no classification. Where prana functions, it has a classification. Cannot be called as it is, If that is the case, you should call electricity as water. Water makes the turbine run. It comes from the water, we can say. So you should call the electricity as water, if that's the case. That's not the case. Manifestations have been created there. Each and everything there is a manifestation. Are you getting what I'm trying to tell you? So the principle behind. So what is that prana? Prana is a principle. Prana doesn't have a choice, doesn't choose. Why? Because principle doesn't choose. They are tattvas. I told you about the tattvas of the Upanishad in the previous class. We have no choice other than to straight away, without any question and doubt, to accept the tattvas. Why? Because they are not describable, they are indescribable, inscrutable. There is no option for any discussion on that. Tattvas are that principle. They are not activity, they are not material, they are not manifestation, they are not unmanifested, they are not manifested. They are, that is the existence. Prana is the existence, that's all. There is no question of discussion on that, because a limited mind cannot discuss that unlimited, which is everywhere, which cannot be seen, which cannot be identified, which cannot be scrutinized, inscrutable, which cannot be described, indescribable, indispensable, and indispensable. So the Father, so what's the Father? That particular unit which wants to fulfill its karmas in this Janma. So we said we have a relationship with the Father. Yes, they are all joint karmas encircled with that, like I told you this is a very intricate subject, so it is very difficult to understand. Okay, if that's the case, I do accept whatever you said, maybe what you are thinking. If that's the case, let there be a flower coming from the earth straight away. Why? Through the plant. Flower is blooming with prana, I said. Bud has become the flower because of the prana. The plant is growing with the prana. They are all individual activities. If it is individual activity, why can't a flower come by itself? Why? Through the plant. You understand? Even though, see, this is the complication of it, or it is the intricacy of it. I won't call it as complicated. Intricacy of it. Even though the flower can come if it wants by itself, flower did not want. Why the flower did not want? Why the bud did not want it? Because it is not the intention of the flower that was the basis of the intention. It was the intention of the plant to create a flower from that, is why the flower comes from the plant. Even though it is now another intricacy in that. They are all interlinked. You may think you have understood, but probably not. Plant thinks it has its prana to grow, so it has an intention, it has a manifestation to create a flower. So flower has come, and in order to bloom the flower, the prana, another activity of the prana is the one which is making it bloom through the plant, even though it's an identification separately, it's an independent activity, as I have taken from one switch, two operating system. One is heating, another is cooling. Two opposite activities are happening with the same thing. The same way, one is growing this way, another is blooming. See, two different activities. But with the prana, but what happened, even though it is the same prana, it is identified the one prana which has got a characteristics helping the plant to grow, and another prana which is making the flower to bloom. Is prana responsible for it? Yes and no. Both are there. Prana is responsible to make it function. But it is not prana's responsibility to make it function like that. Because of the intention of the plant to create a flower, it created a flower. After creating the bud, it is the bud's intention to make itself as a flower. And after the flower has bloomed, it is the flower's intention to create a fruit from that. A relative term through the plant, bud, flower and the fruit. It's a joint venture. Get it? Even though they are independent activities, but they are through each unit. The fruit doesn't come without a flower. Not by itself. There has to be some flower. And the flower doesn't come without a plant. Same way, the son doesn't come without the father. The daughter doesn't come without the father, without the mother. Even though these activities are different, you find them as different. It is a function through which, through the manifestation of each and every activity of that individual or individual Atma, whose experiencing has been determined by itself before it is born. It has to undergo these experiences. It is undergoing these experiences, and in order to make that unit pass through those experiences, prana is a driving force and an energy to that. So, whatever you want, I will do, is what prana is telling. You want to jump, I will help you jump, or I will give you strength to jump. You want to die, I will give you strength to die. You want to live, I will give you strength to live. That's all the prana does. Prana is the source, prana is the strength, but prana is in no way responsible for the activities that particular object is doing. Is why we call it as a witness. You understood? It's a witness. It has no opinion of its own. Oh, if I do like this, will it help me? I want to do it. Okay, I am helping you. That's all. Otherwise, will it help me? Maunam sammada lakshanam. Prana will keep maunam. You do it, don't do it. Why should I bother? What do you want? You want to do it? I will help you. You got money. Simple example again. You got money? You want to buy a dirty thing with that, or a good thing with that, or X thing, that Y thing with that? Will the money say, no, I will not go? No, don't go. Money is a power, buying power. Whatever you want, you can buy with the money. You can buy. You give the money, he'll give. Money doesn't have an option. It has its, and doesn't have any preference also. Doesn't have an option, doesn't have a preference what to buy and what not to buy. Money is a medium through which you can buy, otherwise you cannot buy. So it's a power. But who is intending to buy? You are intending to buy. But even though you are intending to buy, the action of buying or happening of buying is done by money. It's powerful. But he is a witness. Is he doing it? Oh, that money bought me this. Nobody says that, no? Money should have refused when I am buying this because it's a damaged unit. Money should have refused to go from me. No. Prana is like that. I mean, getting it now. Am I clear? That's why it is a witness. It has no option. Why? Because, why? Why prana doesn't have an option? No. Argument. These all come into in the chapters of Tarka Shastra. Tarka Shastra, Charvakas ask, why, if this unit is functioning with the prana, why the prana doesn't have an option? It's a question. Why prana doesn't have a question? Because prana doesn't have an intention. It doesn't have a karma phala to execute. It doesn't have any enjoyments and pleasures it has designed. Its function is only to make things happen whichever unit wants to make it happen. That's all it's unit. The prana is the Bhishma of the life. Bhishma said, I will, any donkey sits on that throne of Hastinapuri, I will help that donkey. He didn't say that, I am saying that. Ultimately it has happened only. His pratigya is not depending upon the individual who is sitting there. It can be Dhritarashtra, who is a useless king, who was. Duryodhana, who was useless, did all atrocities. His pratigya was concerned only to help that. See, that's why many people ask, no, why, what was the reason why Bhishma has sided with the adharma? A man like Bhishma, who is supposed to be having a great principle, who has got Ichamrityu, who is Gangaputra, who has got all the background of qualities, but still this man, as useless, without thinking, how can he know individual opinion or what? Huh? Does it mean that they are doing atrocities? Does it mean that a person, revered person like him should join the army of Kauravas? Shame. Shame on him. We leave aside that. So, what was his function? He has determined his function is this, that's all. Now, who he wants to destroy himself, I will help him to destroy himself. Duryodhana wants to destroy himself, I will be with you to destroy you. You want to come out of it, I will be with you to come out of it. That's all. It's Bhishma. Am I clear? Am I getting it? You are getting it? Same way, prana is that. Like money, like Bhishma, prana is like the flower, like the plant, like the individual. So father and son, now you got it. You can imagine what it is now. What is it? What is the relationship? Actually, there is no relationship. But it is necessary. Flower is indebted to the plant because without the plant, the flower cannot bloom. It cannot by itself come from the earth as it is because it has to have some prelogue before that. Unless those fulfillments are done, requirements are fulfilled, the flower cannot come. It's not possible. So flower has to have a base of plant. Without a plant, or a tree, the flower cannot come. It is not possible. By itself it cannot happen. It's not possible. It has to come through this only. There is no other way. Is there a way? There is no other way. From the seed, directly a flower coming is not possible. It has to be through that's the rule. Why that rule is that? It is because for every formation there has to be a system. There has to be a system. Through that only it can function. Suppose I would like to be born as an 80-year-old man, and one day I will do my karma. On the 81st birthday I must die. Is it possible? It's not possible. Even though my intention is only to live one day, on the end of the 80th year, I will have to be born as an infant of 0 age and gradually grow from 1 to 80, then fulfill that one day and die. To die on that day, you have to live all these years. No way. That's the basis. Alright? Same way, in order to function as this Sharira, this body, Panchabhuta, a creation of this Panchabhuta has got a norm, a discipline, a principle. Panchabhutas, even though it is available in the open, there as we said, it's all Panchabhutas are there. But it is not that anybody can assemble it like that and make one human body. It has its own principle, like the seed converting into the small, what is that? Shoot coming out from there. And from there it becomes a plant, and from the plant it becomes a small bud, and then the flower, like that. In the same manner, the human body, for the formation of these Panchabhutas, for the dwelling of this Prana, Atma, and then the Prana to function, there has to be a disciplinary source through which this Panchabhuta can be created in a human shape or in a animal shape. That is why I have told you about the Andaja, Bijaja, and then God. So, some of them are under, in the form of egg it is born. Some of Bija it is born. Some of them as the Sharira as it is born. Yes. There are 3 kinds of birds. Each has to undergo the same experience. Even though bird is also a Jivatma, human is also a Jivatma, the birds have come from the under. It has to live in that under and break, because that is the discipline of it. Why such discipline is again a big chapter. I can explain it, but it is again one full book. Why such disciplines have to be there? Why the Panchabhutas have to be created in such manner for different purposes, different ways? Yes, it is absolutely necessary. Why? Because bird, from the time it is born, it is an object, it is a jiva which is flying independently. Its attachment to the mother or the father will remain only to the extent that it is grown up to certain stage from the under. After that, there is no attachment. It is departed from that once for all, maybe. There is no more. Finished. Animals also to that extent. After that, it's forgotten, finished. No more attachment. Human is not like that. Because he is doing an experimental experience. For doing an experimental experience, the function of the Panchabhutas have to have a relationship with the inception, that from where it has come, including the Panchabhutas from where it has come and where it goes. Whereas as far as a bird or an animal is concerned, his experiences are experienced experience, it's programmed. They are not doing any experimental experience. For executing an experimental experience only, these things are very important. Those are important only till the time they are able to become independent of it. That means to make them live in this world. After that, they are gone, finished. It's no more. Yes. Is why those attachments, not to create that attachments, they are born separately inside the bird. Even then, it is born. So it is totally in a different form, it is functioning. And they are not being born inside the mother bird. They are being born when they come out only, it is after so many days after coming out. They get the environmental pressure, environmental experience, many other things, then only it is born. Well, in animals it is not like that. In animal, again the animal only is come. But what happens? Even in them, what happens? Even though the Panchabhutas are created through the mother animal, but what happens? Its experiencing is not the experimental experience again, it's an experience. Because it doesn't have an experimental experience. It is according to program it functions. The cow has to eat grass, it will eat only grass. It will not eat, a snake. It will not. No, whatever it is. It has been programmed like that. So they will experience only that with the particular program they are born. They go according to that and achieve only that because that result is already decided. Whereas in human being, we have to experiment quite a lot of things because it's an evolving soul. We had a lot of experiments and a lot of purification has to be done for the Atma. So it has to function in various ways. Is why even the creation of Panchabhuta should have an attachment, a relationship with the basis with which it has been created. Whereas an animal need not worry about with what basis it has been created. It has to only function as a Jivatma or a life form in this world, that's all, till death. So his job is only during the process of living, how to live as programmed. Not as he has to think how to live. He has been programmed to live like that. He has to follow that program of living. For him, he need not to experiment from where he has come, where he is going, because it's already known to him. Whereas in a human being is concerned, in short, because there is a lot of explanation in this, but in just you should understand why it is. That's why I'm just telling in few words, that's all. I know it is insufficient. But this is the reason why we have to experiment, So in order to have this experiment and experience, we have got the knowledge, we have got the intelligence, we have got mind, we have got indriyas, we have got this, that. Lot of paraphernalias have been flooded and loaded in the human Jivatma. So he has to connect with a lot of things. In order to have various experience, he has to connect with a lot of things. So he has to have an ownership. He has to have an ownership. So he said, from whichever, like a flower which has come from the plant, dissolves the plant when it transcends into fruit. Dissolves the plant when it transcends to the fruit. Is it not? Flower is no more there, no attachment. As far as the human being is concerned, it has from the inception till the end, it is conscious about the attachment from where it has come. Through which source, through which seed, through which source it has come, because that is necessary. Why? Because certain parameters of characteristics in the Atma and the Mana is connected with that even after the death or demise of that source from where it is born. Even after the demise, certain utilities of demised source has to be used in the present experimental experience. So he has to always keep in touch with that old. Even though the tube light is not connected with the power plant which is there few hundred kilometers away, what is it? Haldia or XYZ, whatever plant is there. The tube light is not connected. It doesn't bother. So where it is connected, it is bothered only about the switch. That's it. If you switch that on, I will glow. Is what tube light said. Switch said, if you put the transformer on, then only I will be on. Transformer says, if you put that electricity from the electricity board which has got thousands of control boards, if you switch on that, then only I will be energized. That control panel which is there in the electricity board said that unless the power plant is functioning, I cannot function. And the whole power plant which is feeding all this said that unless this source of power, either through the coal, thermal, or is it through the hydro, water, I cannot function. His attachment is vaster to the universe. Slowly and gradually when it comes, it becomes the something like that. The human's connection is to the source, even though the power which is here in the tube light, if it can think the source of it, it will know that I am coming from the universe. But as far as the plant is concerned or the tube light is concerned, it is coming from the switch. That's all. So the flower is coming from the plant is coming from the seed. That's the end of it. He doesn't go beyond that because he doesn't have to have an experimental experience. Whereas the power plant or the unit which is there producing and supplying the power, they have to think quite a lot of things. I mean, this power plant has to think what? From where will I get so much of power? How much I have to distribute to them? How much I should retain in case of emergency? How to store it for some time? How the energizing should be done? Thousands of things has to be done. No? If there is no water, how am I going to function? Then I will break down. If I will break down, I have to give an indication to the people that look, this is the way it has to be functioned. I'm just manifesting, I'm what is that? Even though it's a matter it cannot think, I am only making it personifying the switchboard. As it is. So personifying the power plant. You see, this personification is done by suppose the power plant. He will think like that. From where will I get power tomorrow? Even though I had got power, so much of power, previous year because of rains. This year there is less rain, so I cannot have so much of power. So I must trip now, so that these people know they should do something. So he trips. Something like that. You understand what I'm saying? He has to have connection with that, previous power, next power, after 6 months power. He has to have a lot of things to do. Human has to do that. Whether there is rain or not, I am not bothered. Oh, switch on, I will come if it is there. That's all. Correct? Power, plant, animals and flower, fruits are like that. Whereas the human is like a power plant, which has to think how to supply, how to do this, where to do something like that. I know it's not a very good example, but I think you get an idea of that. You get it. You see. That personification of that unit as the person, as the individual, as so an individual in order to execute his karmas through the experimental experience and achieve it, he has to have the connection of the father, mother, brother, sister, people, friend, this, foe, everyone. Including an enemy is required. Enemy, foe is also required in order to execute a karma. Everything is required. Is why the relationship. That's why he specifically mentioned about the father, mother, brother, sister. Since that experiment is there, there is an attachment is created, there is a possession is created. Is why that source is respected. That source is respected. Even though they are not solely responsible, even though I can say, I am born because of my karma and my karma phala. Doesn't mean I disown my father and mother. No. I have to have a great regard and respect to them. Why? Because that should be my characteristics. Through the attachment from the source where I have come, the flower should be indebted to the plant. If the plant was not there, I would not have come. Is it not? The honey in that should be indebted to the flower. If it is not producing the honey, I would not have come. Yeah, should have, but it doesn't have. Why? Because its function of activity is independent of any of these connections. Why? Because they are not experimental experiences. That's one thing we have to have. Ours is not like that. Human being or the human nature is not like that. Ours is an experimental experience. Since an experimental experience, the place where you experiment is important. The tools and tackles and the units. I mean the tools and tackles. What are you doing with the experiment with is also important. On what principles are you doing the experiment is important. Where are you doing the experiment is important. Up to which extent you will be doing the experiment is important. How will you utilize the result is important. How to achieve that result is important. So there are so many parameters for an experimental experience. Alright? In order to do that, he has to have the source of everything. Even though a man who is working in the lab, he is acquiring certain chemicals, he should know what is the source of the chemical, what are the characteristics of that particular chemical, so that he can utilize that chemical to that particular quantity only for the purpose of getting the result. How to decide how to increase the quantity of one chemical to the other, or how to reduce it, how the combination has to be done, how the liquidification or oxidization has to be done. Lots of parameters he has to function with. He has to keep in relation with. He has to keep in relation with everyone. Then only he can achieve the result. So why? Because he is doing an experimental experience. Same way. Since a human being has to have an experimental experience, he has to keep the relationship in that way. Then only he is doing the experimental experience. Is why the positioning has been given. So we have given certain positions from which our prana has helped you in order to create your own prana, or in the sense as I told you again, it's not the prana who is responsible. Your own sharira or your own panchabhutas and your own atma to function, even though the prana comes into you, but this unit which has to undergo the experience, Father has nothing to do with the prana which has got inside the Son. Absolutely independent. Prana has nothing to do with the Father. What he has to do with the Father? He has to do with the Father is the mind, intellect and the sharira and the indriyas has to do with that. Even Atma to a great extent doesn't have, but to some extent it has. Because there is a joint karma has to be executed with the Father, so the Atma has to have some connection with the Father. But prana is concerned? No. It has nothing to do with the Father. No. Absolutely independent. A witness. The same prana as in the Father is there as in the Son. So in the Son. As in the Father, so in the Son. That's all. No change there, you see, because it's a witness. It is not a functionary. Who is a functionary? Functionaries are others, the Panchabhutas. These Panchabhutas have to have an inheritance, otherwise this Sharira cannot be built. Like the flower cannot come without the plant, without that Sharira, this Sharira cannot be brought. Is why the relationship of that, like the flower from the plant, it's not possible. You understand what I'm trying to do? Is why this regard and respect to that, to have the unit that you are experiencing through is because of the help of the Father. Help of the Father. Take it in the right sense. Each word is important. Yes, due to help of. So what happened? The unit that is experiencing this Jivatma cannot have a Sharira by its own manifestation. It has to come through some unit. Is why a population is necessary. So through that unit only, this Panchabhuta can come so that Atma can dwell in it, and this Atma and the Panchabhutas, Indriyas, intelligence, Mana, Sharira, everything can function by the Prana, which is impartial to any of these. So, understand now? So even though I call it as my Prana and his Prana, but there has to be, I'm talking about the attachment. Why father, mother? Like the flower has an attachment with the plant till the time it is surviving. But its importance is very less. Animal has got little more importance. Human has got more importance because the intensity of it is, one is less, little more, most. This is how it is done. So depending upon the intensity of it is becoming more in human, we have got more of complexities and more of attachments, attractions, more of experiments, more of bifurcations, more of paths for experimenting and experiencing are there, whereas when it is coming to animal it is reduced, and from there to the plant and animal, plants, it becomes reduced again, and it goes beyond that, below that to the the insects and other things, it becomes lesser than that, and the rock lesser than that. Solid. But everything has got the prana in it. Depending upon the karma of that unit to function, the prana is there. It's not that in a rock there is no prana. There is a prana in a parvata. But its function is different, so it is helping that parvata to function according to its requirement. The same prana is there in a human being. It makes it function as the requirement the Jivatma requires, depending upon its own basis of the experimental experience. So since the Jivatma has to have an experimental experience, and the mana and the indriyas and the sharira and the panchabhutas of the sharira is very much connected with the source, and the human has got an intelligence and the memory as well as thinking process, power of thinking. This is seeking informations and experiments from each and everything that he is able to approach to. In whichever manner, wherever he has got an approach, he wants to explore it. So he will enter into all the fields and explore it for fulfilling his transcendence requirement. For what? For his transcendence experience. You go to the ocean, you go to the holidays, you go to the beach, you are not happy. Where are you going? You are going to the beach. Okay. By going to the beach, you are not happy. When the waves are coming, the sea is coming, you want to go and stand. If you don't know swimming, at least you want to go and stand up to the knee deep water, and you want to feel that water. Where did you want to go? You wanted to go only to the beach. But when you saw the water, you want to experience that. And then somebody said, now you can experience more if you sit on that speedboat and then go little inside the sea. I think it is a better idea. Let me go and see. Now, see, he would like to explore. Is it necessary? Whether necessary or not is not the question. Because we do not know whether it is necessary or not unless we explore it. Human nature. So he has to explore it. So the part, since that is the nature, why? Because for experimental experience, so automatically what happens? His source from where he has come, he has an attachment. He has a regard and respect. Why? Because that is very necessary for the experimental experiencer to know the source from where he has come. Because that is very necessary. And that is very, one should be very, very much respectable to that. We are respectable to the Prana. We are respectable to the Atma. We are respectable to the Panchabhutas from where it has come. So from wherever it has come. So this unit as me, for my experimental experience, which I have committed my punyas and papas in my previous janma, to make it function, to create this, even though it is my karma to be born, there is no doubt about it, but to create this sharira for experimental experience, he has been a source to sole source, soul means both mother and father, sole source in order to create this Panchabhuta, even though it is a help, even though it's an extension, it is a help. Even though even otherwise I would have born through someone else, but that through someone else is always there. Someone else is always there. So that someone through whom it has come, we have to be regarding that. We have to have a great regard and respect to that. Why? Because we have an intelligence, that's called experimental experience, through which we are understanding that unless that is there, I will not be in a position to do the experimental experience. So I must have an indebted, responsibility or association with that unit from where it has come. Without prana, I cannot function. I have to have a indebted unit. That's why we pray to God. It is necessary. Why? Because we are doing experimental experience. We have to be thankful for that prana. That prana is God. The prana is knowledge, whatever it is. So we are thankful to that. We have to be thankful to that. We are thankful to the Atma. We have to have that. This thankfulness is very necessary for the mind and the Atma, so that it doesn't have a misconception of as an individual unit, which has just come, as I told you. That's why I told you in the beginning, the flower cannot come from the earth just like that. Even though prana is the one which is helping, it has to come through the plant only. It has to be indebted to the plant, like it or not. We have to be indebted to the father and mother. Why? Because, even though it is a prakriti of the nature that the son has to be born, but it is that unit through which I have been born. So it's a help. See, you go to a government office, passport office. It is your prime right as an individual of this country, as a citizen of this country, you are supposed to get a passport, is it not? There is nothing great. Am I right? But what happens? When you go there, each and every unit you contact with, somebody does this for you, somebody does that for you, somebody does that for you. You are thankful to that person or not? You are thankful. Even though it is not necessary, mentally we say, okay, thank you very much for it. Is, now analyze it from here. It's his duty to do it. You have to thank him. It is your right to get it. Do you have to thank him? No. Not necessarily, no. But still we thank. Why? This is called experimental experience. This thanking is necessary. Why? Because even though it is your right to undergo the experimental experience in your life, in your janma, through this sharira and mana, this facility of having this sharira and mana has been through that source. That's all. Even though it is your right, They are not responsible for it, your birth. You are decided your birth in order to experiment the experience. He is a medium. The man who is writing, the clerk who is writing your name and filling a form and putting it in the file is his job. He has to do it. You are providing the who is providing the information? You are providing the information. He is simply putting it into an order so that you will easily get the passport. Am I right? This is the situation exactly between son and the father. I hope you understand. What is he doing? That which you have programmed is being passed through him and he delivers it. But unless that clerk is there, this paper cannot be filed inside there. Alright? Your information is there, your intention is there, your information is there, you are giving the information, but that position of the clerk has to be there who has to forward your application. Alright? Even though apparently it appears that he is not responsible, he is solely responsible for you getting a passport. Father is that. Got it? Are you getting it? Mother is like that. Yes. Without that it is not possible. So you should be thankful for that. You should be great. Is the reason. Even though it's not explained here. He has explained about father, mother, brother, sister. So I wanted to tell you how this relationship is important as far as this Sharira is concerned. How the human is relationship is concerned. All the human, others also, depending upon, we are telling only about father, mother. The same thing happens to each and every individual depending upon the requirement. Each one is associated with your karma, and each Atma is helping you in order to fulfill that karma. Even an enemy, probably an enemy is doing much better probably than a friend. He makes you really struggle, puts you to trouble, so that struggle and then come out of it. He is the source of it. He is also another source. It's not the strength of the enemy. It's like a chess game. One pawn can be a checkmate for the king or the queen. No. Enemy is like that. Right? So now the king has to escape. The chess queen has to escape. Who? Small pawn. It's very important thing. Same way in our life, each and every person, each and every unit we come across is important for us to experimental experience. Is why this reverence and regard is there. He is not an individual who has come by his own, and he is not experimenting and experiencing, executing his karmas alone. Not that. Without this whole paraphernalia, this executing of karmas cannot be done. It's not possible. So you have to be associated with all that. So in everything, the one thing common is prana. Everything common in everyone is what? Prana. Each one has got its own Atma, or Atma means experience, past experience, through which you are born, and this Panchabhutas which are unified for a particular purpose of karma. They seem to be different, and they are different only for the purpose of experimental experience. Like from the same clay, many forms and shapes of utensils have been brought, square, elliptical, rectangular, and then flat and all that. So many shapes and forms have been created. Once it is broken, all of them are clay. The same way, prana is a common factor in everything, and The relationship of that is that father and mother through which this product, this experimental experience for the purpose of experiencing my experiencing in this Janma, this father was responsible. In next Janma, it may be a different father. Is why father is not a constant factor, is a temporary factor. But it's a factor which is important in this particular Janma. So long you are working in one organization, the boss of that organization is the boss. The day you leave that organization, go to another organization, this boss is no more there, someone else is the boss. Jiva is like that. But so long you are there in the organization, you have to be associated with that boss and the father, and then you have to function with that regard, reverence and respect. You have to do that. That regard and reverence and respect is necessary for the human. Even animals have got to some extent. May not be to the extent of human being, but reverence and respect and Shraddha and Bhakti is absolutely necessary for every human being. Why? Because we have to learn each and every, as I told you, explore it. When you explore, each and everything has to be explored. So, the source of the you, the source of the creation, the manifestation of this Sharira and Mana and the Atma has been, and the Prana has been created by the Lord, whom we call, we don't know who is the Lord, the knowledge or that infinite, whichever it is, the Lord. And then comes the father and mother through which these Panchabhutas have been created. Then my Atma, that who is again had an intention to undergo the experience and all that. So we should be, and the associate to this Jivatma for the purpose of experiencing. They all have to be thankful to by this person. Then only he will be in a position to function as a normal human being. A saint is totally different again. When he transcends himself into a higher plane, his association becomes totally different. But when he is in a human being, experimenting, experiencing and executing his karmas, he has to have the relationship, and then he has to extend his Shraddha and Bhakti. That means the respect, reverence towards the parents, we say, or no, love to the sister and mother, brothers, love to the colleagues, love to the friends, love to this. They are all necessary. Why? Because through that only we are doing the experimental experience. So the main here have lot of experimental experience we do through the parents, mother and father. Is why a lot of things we learn for the purpose of this Sharira to behave the way it is supposed to undergo the experimental experience in this life. We learn lot of things from them, so we have to be indebted. When we get a knowledge of beyond limitations, that is from the God, so we pray to the God. Same prayers in a different intensity we pray to the father and mother. The same thing is extending to the others, who are colleagues, who are friends, who are this, everything is extended to them. So you understood the principle of relationship, why it should be there. So that's why we say that we have to love everyone, we have to respect everyone. No? These words are there is because of this, because your existence is because of that. Your experiencing is because of that. You alone cannot live in this world, they say, no? Somebody puts into the jail. Why? The jail designed, psychologically, that man will think I am alone, I can do nothing. I have no freedom, they say, no? Freedom. What is it? What is that freedom? Freedom to execute my karmas. It can be only through the association with certain things. If that association is detached, then I am not able to execute my karma. We call it as a prison. Bandhana. Bandhana is two ways of bandhana. One is that not associating is one bandhana. Associating is another bandhana. As I told you this, if I start that, I will not be able to continue this. In that bandhana, what happens? Both are bandhana. Now what happens? If you not to have any bandhana, neither you should have a seclusion, nor you should have an association. Neither you should have seclusion, nor you should have association. Is there you escape from the bandhana. Your purpose of existence here in this universe is only for experimental experience. To that extent your association should be there, not beyond that. When you go beyond that, it will become a bandhana. Till then it is association. Till then it is association. Beyond that it is bandhana. Same way in seclusion. बोलते हैं ना, कल तक हम दोस्त थे. Then the daughter of his son of mine decided to get married. Said आज से संबंधी हो गए हम. क्या हुआ? बंधन हो गया. संबंधी कैसे? कल तक तो दोस्त ही था. दोस्ती किस में बदल गया? संबंध में बदल गया. That means बंधन. Danger starts. दोस्ती में अच्छा था, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं था. द मोमेंट संबंधी बन गया, प्रॉब्लम शुरू, है ना. बंधन, that's what this small example I am just telling. So what happens when you association, when it is transmitted into bandhana, it's a problem. So when in your life that you don't know, when you are, no, it automatically happens. When you slip into that, you won't know. So in way, bandhana, that's why I said it's a very long chapter. So even though you are supposed to be having an association, even with the father, even with the mother, even though a lot of love and affection, reverence and regard, respect, everything should be there. But if it becomes a bandhana, then you will not be able to function. If you understood what is a bandhana. Bandhutvam is okay, bandhana is not right. Bandhutva is okay, bandhana is not right. The relationship is okay, but one should not be going beyond that. When you should know where to stop. Then otherwise what happens? When the father dies, you will not be able to live in this world. Because there are so many people who have got that relationship. After that, they become something lost in the world, mad. Somebody goes mad also. There are so many things. Why? Because their relationship, it is not that association. So every position has got its own attachment and relationship. Bhakti and Shraddha is the one which is unlimited. The only relationship. In Bhakti and Shraddha, the more you get into that bandhana, your bandhana will go away. The characteristics of bandhana will go away in Shraddha and Bhakti. That will be coming in the next chapters. Okay, I am not talking about that. This is the importance of the father and mother, is why he has told about father, mother, this, that. Only to make you understand why he specifically, Swamiji specifically mentioned about this. He has not explained it. This is because of these reasons. Do you understand now what is it? In the life, what is it? How is it? Prana is same. As I told you, it's a witness. What is your obligation to the father is this, that's all, only thing. It cannot be repaid. It cannot be repaid. Can the flower repay the function that has done by the plant for the flower? No way. Only thing he can say, thank you very much, that's all. Nothing else. How can he repay that? It's not possible. In which way he can repay? It's not possible. How can I repay for that what my father has done for me? That means brought me here. How can I repay? I cannot. How can I repay to my mother? It's not possible. So the only way is that to show reverence, bhakti, respect and regard to them. Otherwise there is no other way. Because we can, that's why we say no, this cannot be repaid. Whatever you do, it cannot be repaid. Because there is no method for repayment of this. It's not possible. Why? Because this unit has come from that unit. These Panchabhutas have come from that. The source of that. How to repay that? It's not possible. Is why we are indebted to that Prana, that Ishvara, the Lord, who provides us this facility of Prana to make me function the way I want to experience my experimental experience for fulfilling my requirement of fulfilling the karmas and karma balas. For that, my mind should be thankful and should have that great the courtesy and reverence towards that prana, that is towards the Lord who provided the prana, towards the Lord, so that the mind will be absolutely in a state of acceptability of that prana, and the mind will be in the acceptability and understanding that I am not the one who is doing it. It is the prana that is making me function as I want. We will always be thankful, is it not? He is making me function as I want. I will always be thankful to him, is it not? Because I cannot do anything myself. Can this Sharira, can this Mana, can this Atma do something? For that, the Prana has to be there. Are we not supposed to be thankful to that? Yeah. When we are thankful to that, are we not supposed to be thankful to the one who has created this unit for the purpose of making me function, because Atma cannot create it. I have to experience through Atma. Has to be thankful to that also. Thankful to the Lord, thankful to the parents, thankful to associates who are making me experience it also. Well, degree is different. The highest is in the Lord, then comes to the parents, then comes to others one by one, whoever is important. So, gradually it reduces. Same thing happens in the intensity when it is reducing to the animal, to the plant, to this, to this, to this. It goes like that. Is why he specified about, you understand now, for functioning, for experience, for even though you say, oh, I have to do my karma, I am undergoing this problem, I am undergoing the suffering, I am undergoing the enjoyment. Now we should realize, no, we should have, our outlook should be different to that. Our experiencing through that prana. I can program it. My transcendence can be programmed in a different way. Is why in a human, that's why the human, that's why the father, inheritance from the father, inheritance from the mother. This is very important again, because with that inheritance you are in a position to transform, transcend your thoughts, so that you can say, instead of desires, I will have aspiration. Even though both appears to be same and one is more attractive, I will not go by that. This comes from my two ways. One is that from my past experience, second is from the creation. That means this Panchabhutas, this inspiration or the intuition or the inspiration also to a great extent comes from the parents. Why? From that, you are practicing from the childhood according to the parents. That's why from there it comes to the first. That also comes from there. Is why we say there are certain things which is transmitted from the parents, or it is the क्या बोलते हैं? It is inherited from there. They say even a disease is inherited. They say Well, it can be defied, that inheritance. I don't want it. I can deny that. I can defy it by deciding to transcend, by deciding to aspire into the transcendence of the consciousness. So he said about the father, mother. So one's father, so he said that the Upanishad says that one speaks, when you speak irrelevantly to one's father, for instance, people say he is a stupid person, he talks irrelevantly to his own father. Something harsh to his mother, relatives, to reveal the person, good people censure him. We revere great people, great saints, gurus, gods. Revere them, great reverence to them. No, very necessary. Why? Because that opens the source of aspiration. But why it is necessary? When I admire, when I praise, when I revere a great source, a great guru, a great tapasvi, a great jnani, we see all these things through the guru. That's why he said, Guru is a God. Through him, you get reverence to that. So what happens? Your intention of molding you towards the aspiration, towards the transcendence of consciousness will automatically open, because that establishment of intention, strong intention will come by having the reverence to the great people. Alright? And you've got a lot of reverence, lot of importance to that person. Naturally, you would like to reflect like that. You would like to imitate like that. Everyone imitates someone or other. We would like to imitate. So when we want to imitate, we imitate those higher consciousness, that gods, those knowledges, those great tattvas. When we start imitating that, our consciousness will open even though I am supposed to be doing the contemplating the desire, but I will start contemplating the aspiration towards the transcendence of the consciousness, so that I will be in a position to reach the transcendent status as my Guru, as my Lord. Is why this reverence is required. When the bhakti and shraddha come, it's not cultivated, it's not created, it has to come from in, they say. In the sense that, it should be a prakriti in you, it should be a nature in you. How will it come? Unless you practice, they say. Somebody said, unless you practice, how it comes? It's not a practice, It's an attraction, it's an attachment that creates. One moment attraction, one moment attachment. I am the bhakt. See. That bhakti will lead me towards that path. Whatever may be other experience, I will be undergoing that, but I will have priority to that. What happens? My priority changes. When my priority changes, I am giving a lot of priority, even though I am supposed to undergo other experiences, but the priority is always this. So what happens? This functions of the other karmas will have a great influence of my priority in that. Is it right? A person who is like me, for example, wherever we go, even though we will start talking about how is your health, how are you and all that, ultimately I will come to some principle of Upanishad in that, while talking. Because my priority is that. I will come to that alone. Because that is my priority. Through that only I will function the other way. Even though the other functions are there, it is necessary. But ultimately I will come to that. Then only I am happy, I will be satisfied. Otherwise I am not satisfied. You understood? Same way, when I open my mind to that priority of that transcendence and aspiration as my Guru, as my knowledge. What is a Guru and Lord? Knowledge. When I open to that, My priority will be that. When my priority is that, my characteristics becomes like that, because I am cultivating my character. Character is cultivated. So in order to cultivate the character, the priority has to be determined. So you have to get used to the priorities. When you gradually experience that, your priorities will automatically come. That also has got that's again a big chapter, how priorities will come. One is called blessing, one is called karma, previous karma, one is called diksha, one is called practice. There are various things are involved in it. Which one is important? That's another big chapter, okay, that we will not touch now. I think many of them we have discussed earlier, where you require a kadaksha and all that. Again, samarpana will come in that. So he said that we are great people, we value the humanity, we respect life in this world. When we start looking that with the reverence to the Guru, when we have a lot of priority to the Guru, because we see embodiment of knowledge, like in Rishi Pipalada, the students have seen the Lord in him. Even though the Sharira was the same as they saw on the first day, by increasing the knowledge, the jnana chakshu, that means their process of seeing has changed. So great, Lord in presence of the Rishi. She's the Lord. They have learned to see the prana of that unit, which is not the external unit. Earlier they saw the external unit, which is of Panchabhutas, which is executing certain karmas like teaching, doing pravachan, doing teaching. When the transmission of knowledge constantly came from him, his mind absorbed those principal tattvas, which is unchangeable. Why the mind is accepting tattvas? Because unchangeable. Why the mind is not accepting somebody's opinions and ideas? Because they are changeable. Says, okay, that is your opinion, but I got my own opinion, he will say. See, mind is not accepting it. Whereas when I listen, when I am telling you the principle, mind has no option. Mind cannot say, I have got my own principle. No. Is there? No. Mind ultimately has to depend upon this principle only. So mind will open to the tattvas. So the guru or the jnani or the jnanam is projecting only the jnana. Mind, which has no choice other than to accept the tattvas, because tattvas are the truth. It starts accepting the tattvas. When started accepting the tattvas constantly, the mind transcends itself into the tattvas, and his characteristics becomes based on the tattvas, and then the aspiration, instead of desire, the mind goes into aspiration. Once it goes into aspiration, it starts its transcendence through the consciousness to the higher consciousness automatically. See how the process works, how the mind is here. That's why they say, no, listen, Shravanam. First principle of tattvas, Shravana. Constantly listening to Guru. Constantly listening to Guru by the Rishi Pipalada's disciples have started seeing the Lord in him. The same shape and form has transformed. Including the shape and form transformed. The Panchabhutas have transformed. It has become the Lord. Because that is the truth. They started seeing the truth in him. Earlier, they were seeing only the external appearance through their normal vision. But when they started having the jnanam inside them, through the jnana chakshu, when they started looking at him, the same he is the Paramatma. Is of Ishvara in him. So reverence, how reverence changes, how the constant listening of the tattvas principles changes your mind, how the changes are brought. This is how I always said, you can change your karmas, you remember? By these methods. That's why they say that you have to listen, you have to undergo, you have to rigorously undergo. There's no practice in this. What is practice? Mind cannot practice. After listening from here, outside you go, can you listen this? No. How will mind practice? Mind can only say, yesterday I heard this pravachan. Yesterday I had this class. It was good, it was bad, it was right, it was wrong. That's all. But it cannot experience it. You understand? But when you are listening, your mind is accepting, because these are the tattvas. There is no option for the mind to contradict or conspire. Right? Tarka is not there. Is how we change by that. I'm telling you, how do we change? Is like this. This is how we change, and then the one which was soul, which is going in the experience of desire, suddenly changes into aspiration, like Ratnagar became Valmiki. That's the principle. That's how these principles have come. Am I right? So he said, we are great people. This is something well known to us. So we respect. We have to respect and regard our parents, father and mother. Somebody said, the visible gods. Because a part of my creation has been done through that only. When I create that reverence to that father, not to the sharira of the father, not to the sharira of the mother, the prana in that father, prana in that mother is my mother and father. Who made the father create this Panchabhuta from his Panchabhuta? It's the prana. Everywhere, prana. Who made the mother create me from her womb, through his womb? Is her prana. The prana. She was a source, he was a source. Prana was a function. So the priority, respect the prana in the father, respect the prana in the mother. Respect the Panchabhutas in the Atma in the father, Atma in the mother. Respects the mana in the father, mana in the mother. Respects the Panchabhutas, sharira of the father, respect the sharira of the mother, which comes the last. Sharira, but the priority. This is how the prioritized respect and regard. If I divide my respect to the father and mother, it will be in these 4 divisions. This is a priority. Okay. Right. When I become a jnani instead of from the ajnani, in the ajnana sthiti, I respected my father and mother as their sharira. Little more understanding has come. I started respecting their mana, mind. They were good, they were sympathetic, they were loving, they were caring, they were pacifying, they were loving, they were patting, they were doing this mana. What is that? Emotions. So first I started by their form initially. Then gradually when I grew up, started respecting the mana with the emotions and mixture of emotions and Next, after that, when I grew up little more, grew up in the sense not biological growing up, grew up in jnanam, okay. When I started growing up little more, when I grew up little more, I started respecting their atma. That's this atma, that atma of them. When I grew up little more in the jnanam, started respecting their prana. The source of that prana which made that body function, because of which, even though it may be a natural process, because of which I got this body. It is because of the power plant which is supplying electricity, the tube light is glowing. Whether it is the power plant which is glowing, whether it is the transformer which is making it, or whether tube light is glowing, I am benefited of that glowing. How the Father has functioned is okay, immaterial, but I am benefited of it is why my reverence and regard. Right? Are you getting it? They are all very important, I tell you. These classifications, if the picture is not clear, this is Upanishad. Now you understand what is Upanishad. Making you, teaching you how to live in the right way. To the Guru, you should have the right perception. It is the embodiment of the Jnanam. Who has written the Upanishad, from where it has come, from Vedavyasa or from the Lord, from the Shruti, as far as a disciple is concerned? Like I said, the Father. So what happens? When that perception comes, what happens? He has an impartial, absolute surrender to the universe and absolute surrender to the Jnanam, if that comes into that. There is no discrimination through which the Jnanam comes. Oh, it should come only through the Lord. It should come through only Vedavyasa. It should come through only through what is it? Vasishta. It should come through Brahma. It should come through Durvasa. Why? I should get that Jnanam. When through my Guru I am getting the Jnanam, whether it is a Lord, it has to be through that only. So when you are open to that, what happens? The Sharira of him goes away from your eyes, and that the truth which is there inside will be revealed to you. It's called the Sakshatkaram of the Jnanam. So this is how the realization comes. That's why the reverence and regard. You understand, right? This is not there in animals and plants because they are not acquiring Jnanam. They are not acquiring Jnanam to experience. They are not acquiring Jnanam to experience the experience. They are not acquiring Jnanam to fulfill and finish the karma phalas. No. Is why this quality is not there, the reverence. That's why I said bird flies off. Here it is not like that. There is a tie behind it. When can you get the tie relieved? As I told you, 4 divisions. One is Sharira, next is Mana, when you get all the attention and love and affection. Then comes the Atma. Oh, they are like God to me. Like we say that, mother and father is like God to me. So we have reverence to the Atma. After that, what happens? He grows a little more. Then he identifies Prana in them. That is the time when you have the sannyasa. When you take sannyasa, what happens? The sannyasi does the final rites of himself. By that, when he himself is not there, the father and mother is no more there. When the identification of that prana in father, prana in mother is removed, and when the identification classifies only prana is there, that is the time of sannyasa. You got it? Are you getting it? This is where he does his last rites. That means the Sharira and Mana, what he has given through him which has come, I am surrendering that to the nature, Prakriti back, so that my prana, his prana, her prana, that prana, this prana, and the Lord, everything is one. Is sannyasa. sannyasa. That's why during sannyasa, this ritual of doing one's own last rites are there. They do the rites for the father, mother, even though they are living, and he himself, all the last. That means detachment to the Panchabhutas, detachment to the Atma, Mana, detachment to the Atma is done. Then what remained? Prana remained. It's not that he did not respect them. Still he can respect them. No problem. So I said, now you understand how it's very important chapter, I think. So we should have that reverence. Then only priority as it, reverence, priority, exposed to the jnanam, to the Guru, so automatically your mind will be open to the jnanam and you will with total, complete surrender, you will accept the jnanam that is coming from the Guru. You will find the Guru totally different, and then your mind is open to that jnanam which will directly connect you to the absolute jnanam, which is known as the Lord. That absolute jnanam is known as the Lord. Okay. This is something well known to us. Well, those things are classified because for this classification is necessary. Otherwise, this alone reading, you see, I'll read you whatever I have explained you. On what basis did I? Why do we say that life is superior to everything minus life everything? The Upanishad says that if one speaks irreverently, from there it started. One speaks irreverently to one's father, for instance, people would say how stupid this person is. He talks irreverently to his own father. Similarly, if a person speaks something harsh to his mother, to his relatives, to the revered persons, good people censure him. We revere great people, we value humanity, and we respect life in this world. This is something well known to us, is what we have explained. Now, by reading this, can we understand the importance of the father, mother, prana, tattvas, this all? But you have to analyze it. Otherwise, that's why people shy away from the reading and understanding of Upanishad. Why? Because this cannot be written so much. It has to be through a guru only. It's not the person who, how much one will, that's why it is all written in sutras. Sutras have to be explored. So he said, "Fie upon you," says people, when we talk irreverently to the elderly ones or behave in stupid manner with which would not be becoming of one in a human society. Naturally. This is why unless one knows, one understands this, one will not be able to behave in the right manner, because in the other way what happens, his mind is always open to desires, greed, importance, ahankara in him. They are all conquered by that. They are mistaken and they are taken in a wrong way. You do not know. See here, we will be coming to that. The mind and thought we are coming to. We do not know what people think, how people think, unless a saint or a saintly person who can read the thoughts only know. Otherwise, generally we don't know. From the external appearance, one will not know what is going on in one's mind. One may be, we have seen people, one is living for lifelong together, maybe husband and wife, or maybe children, or maybe so and so. How the mind functions, we do not know. What are the minds? What is there in their mind? We don't know. Externally, it is not possible. How these thoughts function, how this should be rectified. This is what I'm saying. There are a lot of things. I was remembering about an incident, but I don't want to tell that because it's an individual whom I know very well, and When I came here, it has happened in front of me, and means in presence of me, in my knowledge. Well, I think that's not important to tell now. So, thoughts. How these thoughts are forming? These thoughts are forming because of my ignorance of this. What is important? Who is important? No? This should be known. What is important? Who is important in this life should be known, so that in this life, these are all connected to this life only. They are all next life. The priorities changes, people change, and association change, or there may be a lingering from this life to the next life. There are so many associations are like that, many relations are like that, from previous to the next life, because karma is linked with that. That's how it is. But a person who has gone beyond that, a sannyasi, he will not be born as a human. Again, he will be reincarnated, and he will go to the next layer, 5th layer, 6th layer, and 7th layer. I think we stop here. Okay, next we'll continue. I thought today we will finish this chapter, but this subject came which was important. I thought I must explain. That is, how will we know why we are giving importance to this? So, what is the necessity of giving importance? Upanishad is not only that, telling you to not to regard and respect, go away. Not only talking about that, it is talking about this also, so that it is showing you. That's why Chhandogya Upanishad is important. In this level of living of normal man, he is teaching us how to transcend ourselves towards that, aspire to transcend, and transcend, and the higher consciousness. He is teaching us, he is telling us. It's all step by step, is absolutely clear. Is it not? Today's chapter is that. I hope you remember this and function. Om Shanti.